Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Sharon Florentine, and welcome to today's webinar, Implementing a Resilient Framework for GitOps Application Recoverability with RedHat OpenShift and TrilioVault. We have an awesome webinar for you today, as always, but before we get started, I need to go over some housekeeping items with you. First off, this webinar is being recorded, so if you miss any or all of it, you'll be able to go back and watch it again. We'll be sending an email with instructions for how to access the webinar on demand. You can always visit us at devops.com/webinars. It will be there for you as well. We are doing a drawing today for 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, so stick around until the end to see if you are a winner. And we are taking questions from the audience throughout, so you can use the Q&A tab on your console to submit your questions at any time. We will try to get to as many as possible at the end of the presentation. And also, we've got some polling questions for you today. So when you see those pop up on your screen, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a couple seconds and record your answers for us. Thank you so much. All right, so with that, I am going to introduce our speakers today. Prashanto, Coach Vara is Director of Product at Trilio, and Christian Hernandez is Senior Principal Technical Marketing Manager for Cloud Platforms at RedHat. I'm going to take myself, my tongue-tied self, off camera and mute myself and let you get right into it, Prashanto. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Hello, everyone. We can get started. The agenda for today is as follows. Sharon already did the introductions for us, so thank you for that. We will continue with a quick look at market trends in the Kubernetes space. After that, we'll talk a little bit about the products, Kubernetes practices in general. We will talk about OpenShift container platform. We will quickly talk about what TrilioVault for Kubernetes is, what it offers you. Christian's going to cover GitOps practices within OpenShift. We'll also have a demo that Christian will be doing. And then finally, we'll do a quick Q&A and some conclusion slides. So with that, let's talk about GitOps first. When we do a quick Google search on what is GitOps, the results that you see from CloudBees says that GitOps is a paradigm or a set of practices that empowers developers to perform tasks which typically fall under the purview of IT operations. Okay, it requires us to describe and observe systems with declarative specifications that eventually form the basis of continuous everything. Now, yes, the definition can be a little confusing, but in a nutshell, what this means is that you are storing all of your infrastructure, application, all code as to how everything gets deployed within a version control system like Git. And then what you're doing is, in order to play those applications or deploy those applications, you are using automation, and with that automation, you're deploying all those applications within a Kubernetes cluster. Any changes that you want to make to those applications follows through the Git model itself. So you're not directly making changes to the cluster, but you are introducing any new changes or any pull requests, merge requests from the Git version control system itself. Okay. So that in a nutshell is GitOps for you. Now we have a first poll question for today. The topic of GitOps may be maybe new for some. Some of you may be already using it. So this poll question is just to get an understanding of the audience. So are you using GitOps practices today? Now, you have 3 options. It's yes, no, but you plan on doing so in the next 6 months. And the third option is no, and no plans of using GitOps at the moment.
All right, folks, thank you so much. I see those results rolling in. We're going to leave this open for another couple seconds. But Prashanto, what's your prediction? Do you think that that most folks are already or are not?
So I would say that GitOps, Kubernetes and GitOps, they are kind of newer paradigms, newer practices. So, there may be folks who are already using it, some who are probably new to it. So I think it'll probably be a mix. That's my guess.
Okay. Well, it looks like I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and then I will read through the responses here so we can see how your crystal ball did there. Are you using GitOps practices today? 28% said yes. 33% said no, but plan on it in the next 6 months. And then 39% said no, with no plans to use GitOps at the moment. So there we have it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that gives us a good idea of the audience and how you guys are using GitOps today. And this session will talk more about the GitOps practices, and if you're not using it today, why you should be using it in general, and focusing on how TrilioVault, which is a data protection, data management solution, helps with the GitOps practices itself. Okay. So let's look at a Kubernetes system in practice. Okay, what happens within Kubernetes? Firstly, we all know that Kubernetes is based on microservices. You don't have monolithic applications running anymore, so you have a lot many objects and a lot of different containers and container-based resources that you need to manage, right? So as we mentioned, the GitOps paradigm or practice has emerged because managing all these individual components independently is very time consuming and will be a management nightmare. So using something like infrastructure as code through GitOps is the practice that we are seeing users flock towards and start using more and more for their Kubernetes systems. So let's begin from looking at this. Let's assume that this is a large organization. You have your dev side on the left, you have your ops side on the right, and let's begin from the extreme left. Right. So we have Lisa, who is a developer. She is the one who is doing hardcore programming, writing code day in day out, building the apps and so on. What she is interested, as part of her GitOps practice, she would want to test with a recent copy of production data, right? When she loads the environment, or when she moves the code through the CI process or the CD process where it's getting tested on different environments, she wants to make sure that she can test with the most recent copy of production data so that she can eliminate any issues that may happen at production time or when you deploy into production. Right? So just to increase the success of your deployment, that is what Lisa is trying to do. Then comes into the picture is Brian. Brian is the SRE, the app owner, who is responsible for taking the application that Lisa has built and running it within the Kubernetes system. What Brian is also interested in, he's definitely interested in making sure that we test with production data as well. At the same time, he's also focused on the uptime of the application, the observability of the application, making sure that in case there are any corruptions or anything that put the application in a non-available state, he can bring it back again. Okay. On the right-hand side, we have Rob, who is the cluster administrator. Right. Rob is also using, GitOps practices. Basically, he has all his declarative functions, everything stored within Git to deploy clusters. So he's providing the Kubernetes clusters for the development teams to, do their development practices and, build code and run their applications. Now, Rob's objective is to ensure that these applications are continuously running. There is business continuity, and he can maintain that. Though they are kind of working together, Rob does not want to call up, Brian and Lisa at, let's say, 3 a.m. of the night in case something goes down. He wants that easy button for the entire cluster, in case a particular namespace is unavailable, or particular application itself is unavailable, or the entire cluster may be unavailable. So from Rob's perspective, that is what he's focused on. And he's also using, these Git practices, declarative functions to deploy these clusters end to end. And then finally, we have Jane, who is, part of the overall operations teams. She is concerned more in terms of, cost aspects around the organization, whether, again, business continuity is also big for her. And basically making sure that you're able to do things like migrations, disaster recovery, everything become a core objective of the personas on the right hand side, which is the ops side. Okay, so that in a nutshell is what we are seeing within Kubernetes today. Now let's talk about the OpenShift container platform. So we all know OpenShift is a CNCF certified distribution provided by RedHat. And why it's so popular and being used so heavily today is because it provides the level playing ground for your developers and your IT operators together, right? It provides a Kubernetes distribution where you can have your development teams do their development, and then the same platform you are actually launching your applications for the end world to consume as well. And obviously, from a business perspective, it has a proven track record for being the platform of choice to power businesses, and obviously from a strategy perspective as well. Now, the OpenShift container platform has a lot of different features, which make the application development and delivery very seamless. There are automated operations, multi-tenancy for different teams, role-based access controls embedded, very, very secure in terms of providing security policies and ensuring that the containers entering into the systems adhere to those security policies. From a networking perspective, from an upgrade perspective, monitoring, chargeback, pluggable architecture, everything is provided in that one platform. And obviously, it's a platform that can be deployed anywhere. You can deploy it in your own data centers. You can run it in the cloud. There are managed services for OpenShift. Because of its popularity, it's available in all the major hyperscalers today. Yeah, and it's no surprise that OpenShift has been rated as the #1 container platform for doing Kubernetes-based practices today. This is about 9 months ago that the Forrester Wave called out OpenShift as the leader in the space, and this was 9 months ago. But ever since then, we also know that OpenShift has steadily been growing. And many customers are flocking to this distribution. Now let's talk about TrilioVault for Kubernetes: who, why, and the what. So Trilio is a cloud-native data protection solution. It was founded in 2013. We started off with building data protection solutions for OpenStack and RedHat virtualization. And about 2 years ago, we decided to embark on the Kubernetes journey, started building a solution for doing cloud-native data protection, data management for Kubernetes environments. And our entire technology, is patented. It's proprietary. We have built it ourselves. The company has resources and people across the globe. We are already, selling very, very heavily into defense architectures or defense organizations, automotive, telcos, MSPs, and a lot more. From a funding perspective, we continues to grow. And from a global partner ecosystem perspective, we provide a lot of integrations into partner and sister products as well. And the entire product line has been certified by leading industry standards, which make it very easy to adopt and have that peace of mind about the solution that you're bringing into your organization. So why are we talking about data protection? Why is it such a big deal today? So one of the things that we all know, again, the architecture of applications is completely different within Kubernetes. You no longer have siloed, monolithic, large, gigantic applications who do not change their footprint. Right now, within the Kubernetes system, you have everything is modular, microservices oriented, very scalable, automated, API driven, policy driven, multi-tenant architectures, right? So right off the bat, we need to ensure that there needs to be a different kind of a solution that can support these cloud native applications. The legacy way of doing it, when we just focused on the storage or the data volumes, that does not work anymore. Okay. So what is TrilioVault for Kubernetes? So firstly, TrilioVault for Kubernetes is a cloud native application, right? It is a Kubernetes application that you deploy as an operator within your cluster. Now, firstly, it's a fully distribution agnostic solution. So no matter the distribution, you will, as long as it's Kubernetes certified, Trilio will run on that without any issues. The second thing that we do is we are completely agnostic to the storage architecture. What that means is we communicate with your persistent devices and your persistent storage through this interface called CSI. So as long as you have CSI enabled drivers, which every major storage solution supports, Trilio will work again out of the box on it. And then, as per the Kubernetes promise, we can run anywhere, any cloud, it can be the hyperscaler, can be private cloud, public cloud environments, anything. So it becomes a very, very easy solution to adopt and use because of the reach and the coverage that is being provided. Now, Trilio has heavily integrated into the RedHat ecosystem for containers. So we already have an operator which is available within Operator Hub for the OpenShift platform. Operator Hub is like the marketplace for deploying applications into OpenShift, and you can easily find Trilio over there. It's a certified solution, so we've gone through rigorous checks and validations through RedHat to ensure that we are putting our best foot forward in terms of security, in terms of the features and how the product is constructed. Secondly, we also provide out-of-the-box integration with OpenShift container storage. What this means is that if you have OpenShift container storage running in your environment, and you're supporting all your persistent workloads through that, it's automatically supported. You do not have any configurations that you need to set up. It'll automatically leverage all of that, and Trilio will work with it. What you see on the right-hand side, those screenshots, these are some screenshots from the OpenShift system that show that you can actually manage the entire Trilio product from the single pane of glass that is OpenShift. So it's right embedded into OpenShift, and we do have a separate UI and management console as well, which Christian will be kind of showing as part of the demo as well. So what is it that Trilio does for you? Okay, so I like to present the slide because this gives a very good overview of how we provide the use cases for Kubernetes environments today. So up top, we can see that there are two clusters here. You have namespaces and you have applications running within those namespaces. Now, what Trilio allows you to do is capture your workloads. It can be the entire namespace, or can be want to cherry pick specific applications from the namespace. We allow you to capture that. Once we have captured it, we allow you to replay that into another namespace of the same cluster, and back into the same namespace, or into a completely different cluster or namespace altogether. So as a result, you can see there are different kinds of use cases that are enabled, right? There is backup recovery, there is the disaster recovery, there is application management, data management, migration capabilities, everything, right? So TrilioVault becomes a very powerful solution within your organization to overall manage your applications and manage them across multiple clusters as well. Porting them, mobilizing them, protecting them, everything through one solution. Okay. Now, let's talk about how Trilio is helping throughout the application lifecycle process, right? Right from day zero to day two. Traditionally, when we think about data protection, you tend to think of that as a day two operation. But now with Kubernetes, what is happening is the architecture is different, use cases are different, the way you practice and you build applications is different. So as a result, the use cases and your needs and your objectives are also different. We spoke about the practices earlier on, talking about Lisa and how she would like to test with production copies of the data. And this, what we're talking about here for day zero, is exactly how you would use TrilioVault to do that. You have your, let's say cluster one was your production environment. As part of your CI and CD process itself, you can ensure that you checked in code, and then there are workflows that get triggered behind the scenes to capture your production data, move it into your staging and or test environments, and test with that directly. So maybe it may be a new variable that was introduced, which your production data wouldn't actually gel with, align with, and you're now going to be able to capture these kind of situations, improve the quality and success of your deployments right from the beginning, from a day zero perspective. So another poll question for the audience here, trying to understand, what we spoke about the day zero, testing with production data within your CI/CD pipelines. How important is it for you and your organizations, right? What we are talking about here is it very important? It's not very important today because you're running stateless applications only, and not important today because you're stateless, but will be in the next 12 months.
Thank you so much, folks. This is great. I see those results rolling in. We'll give it another few seconds. All right.
How are we doing, Sharon?
Yep. All right. So the responses to this one are very interesting. 63% said it's very important. 21% are not, say it's not important because they're running stateless only. 16% not important today, stateless, but will be in the next 12 months.
Great. So that definitely, that aligns with what we've been seeing with Kubernetes as well. Initially, folks have started off with a lot of stateless applications. Now they're moving into a lot more stateful, stateful workloads, and that aligns well. 63% saying it's very important. Another, did we say 15, 20%? Becoming very important in the next 12 months. Very, very well aligns with what we've been seeing as well. So thank you everyone for that. Okay, now let's talk about the day one aspect of it. And when we're talking about day one here, we are talking about you've launched your application, you're running it in production, you're using GitOps to make any changes, manage it, and so on. Now here, what Trilio can help you, and what we've been evangelizing and seeing our customers use the product for as well, is protecting your Git tools or your GitOps tools themselves. So you see these tools like Flux, Argo, everything becoming very, very popular within the Kubernetes space. So they run as Kubernetes applications themselves. So Trilio can firstly protect your your GitOps applications. So if you're think about it as your GitOps tools crashing, you cannot launch your applications again. From that angle, Trilio can protect your GitOps tools. The second aspect of it is when you are running GitOps, you have your desired state that you're saying, hey, this is my declared application, declarative functions that I want to play or apply onto my cluster. Now, what happens as part of that is there are some non-deterministic pieces that get created as well, right? There may be, you may have said that, hey, I want these 5 containers or pods, but as part of what gets deployed, there may be some extra, some extra services and extra objects that get created. And what happens is, from a compliance perspective or from a security perspective, organizations want to capture that running state, in case of audit requirements or whatever needs from a vertical perspective that they may have. So that running state also is something that Trilio can capture for you. And then obviously, taking that running state concept a little further, GitOps is saying that do everything from Git and maintain it that way, but change is inevitable. There may be certain reasons that you may have to make some changes onto the Kubernetes cluster, maybe for troubleshooting reasons, and that can create drift. And because Trilio can be, you can actually set it up as an event-driven function, so that as soon as there is a drift, you are able to capture that and store it into a repository outside of your cluster. Okay, so again, right from the top, it's protecting your GitOps tools as well as capturing any drift running state of the application. Now this leads us into my final poll question. Talking about this day one situation, how important is it for you? For which use case is more important, whether it's capturing the drift and running state of applications, point-in-time recovery for your GitOps tools themselves, or it's both A and B?
Seems like we might have a blowout on our hands here. Looks like at least at this point, most folks are saying both A and B. So, we've got a few of those other ones there. All right. I'm going to give it just a few more seconds, then we'll go through the results.
Sure.
Just in case. Get those last couple stragglers in there. All right. I'm going to close that out for you. All right. 4% say capturing drift. 36% point-in-time recovery. And the vast majority, 60%, say both A and B.
60% say both A and B, and yep. Okay, so that again also aligns, with what we are seeing. People are using GitOps tools, so protecting those GitOps tools are important. And then, again, the running state, the drift also becomes a second aspect or a new problem that folks are looking to solve and ensure compliance within their systems. So thank you for that. Okay, and finally, let's talk about the day two. The day two piece is, obviously very important. It's much more, understood by end users because, from a historical perspective, this is what we are used to when we think about, data protection, doing point-in-time backup and recovery for your applications. So, no matter how your applications are deployed, whether they are deployed via Helm, Operator, labels, Trilio provides native capability to protect those applications. We also provide the capability to do backup and restores of your entire namespaces. Now, building on top of that, you can do disaster recovery type of operations. So when we think about it from Rob's perspective, going back to our operational practices, being able to restore a cluster in case something goes wrong. And then finally, from Jane's perspective, the migration ability. You may be running, let's say, OpenShift on-prem, and you want to take your workloads and migrate them to OpenShift in the cloud. You can do that through a solution like Trilio. And as part of these, DR migration backup capabilities, we provide very granular capabilities to even massage and manipulate the data when you are restoring to align with your destination environments. Right. So, if you had to change, let's say, security policies, names, maybe, storage classes, anything of that nature, you can do that with, the Trilio solution. Okay. So now we've covered about GitOps. We've spoken about the OpenShift platform. We've spoken about Trilio. Now let's pass the ball over to Christian, who's going to cover GitOps within the OpenShift platform itself, and will be providing a lovely demo after that as well.
Thank you, Prashanto. Just quick audio check. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sounds good. All right, perfect. So, so I'm going to be talking about GitOps specifically inside of OpenShift. So, OpenShift GitOps is our offering, our GitOps offering on OpenShift. It's our supported offering that's based on Argo CD. And using Argo CD, it gives you OpenShift GitOps gives you an opinionated GitOps bootstrapping, to where you can start you can go from 0 to GitOps very quickly. It offers deployments and insights, things like alerting, things like telemetry data from your application sprawled across multiple clusters. So you can have Argo CD take care of applications in the cluster that you're running OpenShift GitOps, or multiple clusters spread across multiple geographical regions. And like Prashanto was saying, keep them constantly in sync, making sure that the health is there, and preventing any drift. OpenShift GitOps then also leveraging the OLM, is what we call the Operator Lifecycle Manager, for automated upgrades. So you don't have to worry about keeping your Argo CD instance upgraded. You don't have to worry about it, having security patches or patching of that. OLM will take care of that for you. And talking a little bit more about Argo CD specifically. So Argo CD will track a specific Git branch and constantly be checking your cluster to making sure that your cluster is in sync with your desired state. So that's which is why Argo CD is seen as a GitOps tool. You have a desired state in Git with all your manifests. You have your running state of that application on your cluster. If there's any drift, it'll automatically sync those, making sure that your cluster is always in sync. So you also have granular control on how you roll out your deployments and how the sync operation happens, right? Anytime a sync operation happens, if you're running stateless, that's great, right? You can just do it all in one shot. If you're running any sort of stateful applications, you may want to order certain things. You may want to apply things in a certain order, especially if you're running something like a stateful application, like a database or anything like that. And since Argo is just tracking a Git branch, or your Git repository, you can easily roll forward, roll backwards to any commit, right? So you can you control the instance of your cluster by using your Git workflows. So you're just not doing anything. If you're an application developer, if you're an SRE, you're not doing anything really different in terms of your workflow. Now you have an automated way to apply those. So if you're tracking the main branch, if something went wrong, you want to roll back or roll forward, whatever, right? You do a commit, you roll back to a specific commit, and Argo CD will just act upon that. There's also templating support, right? So for those who are using Helm, you bring your Helm charts, right? The Helm charts are welcome, sort of thing, right? If you're already using Customize, I know I'm a big user of Customize. I love that about Argo CD, where you can use Customize for templating. So that way you're not copying YAML everywhere. You are, using a core set of YAMLs and just using a templating engine. Argo CD supports that out of the box. So, and also Insight, again, visualization from everything. So you don't, for those of you who like the UI, you can have information, nice graphs. You also get that same information if you're kind of like me, likes the CLI. It's fun for everyone there. So, So with Argo CD, we see different deployment strategies, and I like to go over kind of the different deployment strategies that are supported. One of the things that people start off with a lot is actually the central hub and push sort of thing, where you have a central Argo CD that you're managing many repos and deploying to many clusters. This is what we call, hub and spoke sort of thing, central hub. This is a push method where you have a single Argo instance maybe taking care of multiple clusters. There's also what we call a clustered scope of Argo CD. Argo CD cluster scope. Personally, this is how I run, where there's one Argo CD instance per cluster, and essentially it's the watchdog for that cluster. Everything goes through that Argo CD instance. It's tracking a Git repo or multiple Git repos and acting upon those depending on what commits or what Git workflow you have, right? Again, it's all dependent on your Git workflow for GitOps. And then this is an interesting also deployment strategy. This is especially true if you're using like a managed OpenShift, where you're not really the admin of the OpenShift cluster that you're on. You're just consuming it as a service, is what we call application scoped, meaning that you're just worried about your own application stack, right? So your application could be in one namespace or a handful of namespaces, and someone else, another development team, could be taking care of their application. And since the multi-tenant nature of OpenShift, you may or may not know that someone else is on that same cluster. You may or may not care. This is what we call application scoped. Again, this is another pull method where Argo CD is acting again on your Git workflows, but then only kind of managing maybe a few resources particular to your application on your cluster. So so with that, I believe we're ready to go on with the demo. So just kind of from a high level overview, what I'm going to be going through is I'm just going to be going through the OpenShift environment, kind of the application, and all the applications that are running there. I'm going to show you Argo CD and what's running. And then I'm going to show the TVK, right? The UI of Trilio, and kind of going over that and how that works. And then I'm going to simulate a failure and a restore from that as well. So one second while I get my screen sharing here. Let's hope the demo gods are on our side today. So let me know if you can see my screen.
It's coming up. Okay, now I can see it.
You can see the OpenShift UI. All right, perfect.
That's good.
So here I have OpenShift 4.6 installed. And if I go here, I'm going to show you the operator hub. Again, Prashanto kind of explained a little bit where the operator hub is kind of like a central way to get all any workloads, right? Any workloads from ISVs or anything kind of a service related, you can install it that way. So here, if I type in OpenShift GitOps, right, you see that the operator was installed, right? It's kind of a push button kind of install, right? Like you can click install, click uninstall, it will uninstall it, right? So purposes of demo, I pre-installed it here. You can also list your installed operators here as well. And as you can see, the operator for Trilio was also pre-installed. So if I go here, you can do things like add a license, create a target, right? Target is kind of like where I want to store my backups, right? Where I want to store my data. And then you would create things like a backup plan and in a backup instance. You can do all that within the OpenShift UI. Like Prashanto said, very tight integration with OpenShift. You can do pretty much everything you need to within the UI. And again, going back to my installed operators, I have OpenShift GitOps here, and a part of that is the OpenShift pipelines as well. So if you wanted to do pipelining, that comes along with the OpenShift GitOps as part of our greater CI/CD story. So so with that, I can show you that. Oh, by the way, here you can go to the Argo CD UI from this UI here. But I already have this tab open. Here we have a few workloads running here on Argo CD. So this is kind of where Argo CD shows you the UI, shows you the sync status, can see how your application is laid out in this tree view here. So I'm actually going to drop down again. Remember, I said I'm a command line guy. So let's do kubectl get all right in this namespace, and this should. Yeah, so this it shows you that I have a few workloads, kind of like a few stateless applications, right? So I have kind of a stateless applications. I have a MariaDB PostgreSQL database, right? So a few stateful applications as well. And then, the deployments and storage systems. If I do OC get PVC, right? Persistent volume claim, right? This is the storage backend, right? So for my application. Since I installed Argo CD, I also get access to the screen here, so you're not looking down. I do applications, right? So applications in Argo language in OpenShift GitOps is it's a CRD, it's a custom resource, and it's just their name for a collection of YAMLs. In the GitOps namespace, and you see that I have I can see the same information as I saw in the web UI. And so switching back here, switching back to, this is the Trilio UI. And from here, I can see information about the different namespace for this particular cluster. As you see here, it gives you, from a glance, you can see how many namespaces are protected, how many backups have started, how many have stopped, how many have failed, right? So from a glance that you can see which namespaces. Here I see I have one protected because I've been backing this, I've been being a good citizen, backing up my my data. I can look for the namespace, right, that I want to interact with. Once that pops up, I can here there is I can create a backup from here. I thought it was a drop down here, but I can create a backup here of this namespace. So I can do GitOps OpenShift backup and to instantiate this backup here. And then I have a backup plan, right? And I need to choose a backup plan. A backup plan is nothing more of just a configuration of the backup, right? So you can think of a backup plan as the actual config of a backup, and then a backup is an instantiation of that backup plan. So here it's just a config. I'm gonna back up everything through S3. So let me, oops, I need to actually select it. There it goes. And then the backup will start. And this here will basically back up that entire namespace with all those applications, right? So something that may come to your mind while this is in progress, this takes a few seconds, is that if I'm, some of you are thinking, hey, if I'm using GitOps, why are you taking a backup, right? And so one of the biggest challenges in cloud native development, which then extends to GitOps, because GitOps is a cloud native way of doing DevOps on Kubernetes, is that you can back up your manifests, but your stateful applications, your data still needs to also be backed up. So if I just reapply the manifests, my application will come back, but without the data. So I do need to have an integration with some sort of backup utility here. So this here, so snapshot completed, right? So it first takes snapshot, was in progress. Now it's completed. Now it's actually going to upload all that metadata as well. And this will also take a few seconds here. Cool. So now that I have that, my backup completed, right? As you can see in a matter of minutes here, I can actually look at the backup. Is if I go here, backup summary details. So I have a backup here, right? So here's today's date, and here you'll see all the status of your backups, right? Whatever, how many failed, how many available, how many in progress, that sort of thing. So let's do something fun. This is so again, you get the applications. Again, all the stuff is there. So let's simulate a failure, right? So this is where we actually pray to the demo gods, right? And so here, OC, delete application. Oops, yeah, I want all. Right, and just like that, it's gone. So here, the applications are gone, right? As you see, if I do OC get apps, there's no resources, so completely gone. But since I just took a backup here, I can actually restore this backup. So here, GitOps restore the namespace. This is kind of an interesting a use case here. I can actually restore that same namespace or restore it to a different namespace. So this is this will give you the ability to this has that interesting thing where you can take a snapshot of your workload, of your production workload, and use it to test in your CI process. So you can actually take real production data. So I'm going to skip if already exists, meaning that I don't want to overwrite anything that's already there. So here, that's fine. There's no I already named that, did I? Yes, I did. Sorry. I had to use a different name, but it didn't come out. Where's OpenShift GitOps? There it is. There we go. And then this will basically reverse what I just did, right? It'll validate the data first, and then it'll begin a restoration of that namespace without that workloads here. So you can see the validation was complete, right? Around a few seconds here. Another 30 seconds or so, the restore will happen as well. It'll be in progress. It'll alert you also when it's back. All right, restoration complete. I go back here. All my applications are back, all happy. And then if I do get applications, my workload is back. So as you can see, I can quickly do a snapshot and restore of my application as part of my GitOps workflow, as a part of my of not only doing GitOps with my stateless application, but also doing it with my stateful application. Because as we all know, the stateful application, the problem is always the data. So doing everything automated is always easy up until you get your data involved. So here you do need having this tight integration will help with that stateful application workload. So, and I believe with that, stop sharing.
Okay.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christian. That was a super powerful demo. I think the way you explained it was pretty solid as well. I'm pretty sure the audience definitely got a lot of it out of it. So what I'll do is I just have 2 more slides to conclude with, and instead of using the slides that we were showing earlier, I'm just going to share my screen because I realized that there is some animation on the last slide, and that may not appear as well on this. Okay, so
the animation is important.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to share my second screen. Let me know when you can see it.
There it is.
Looking good.
Okay, great. So why are we talking about Trilio, and why do you want to use Trilio? Just to recap, right? We spoke about the day 0 aspect of testing with production data, the Lisas and the Brians of the world. Trilio allows you to do that. Take your production copy of the data before you run any CI/CD or CD or aspects of it as part of your testing infrastructure. Get the production data loaded into those environments. From a GitOps perspective, looking at it from a pure DevOps perspective, you have the SRE, Brian, you have the cluster admins like Rob. They are worried about having the easy button to restore things, support the GitOps tools themselves, capture running state, drift, those items as well. And then finally, from a day two perspective, when we look at it from Rob and Jane's perspective, the business continuity, total cost of ownership, migrations, all those use cases become possible now. You can get your minimum viable business, clean site recoverability, those kind of things are now possible. Now, why Red Hat plus Trilio? So we've already spoken about all the integrations, how we are heavily integrated, available in the marketplace, now able to support any application, however you deploy it within the OpenShift platform. So right from supporting those use cases on the OCP platform for test, dev, backup recovery, disaster recovery, migration, we do all of that. All of that through a single pane of management. Everything is via click-driven workflows. Heavily certified by Red Hat and IBM, and the entire solution is multi-tenant and self-serviceable. So going back to the Lisas, the Brians, the Robs, the Janes, every persona can use the solution in their own specific way. Every operation can be controlled via RBAC as well. So it's, excuse me, it's all Kubernetes RBAC. So we have integrated into that and make all of this possible. Okay. So that's it from us. We have a free trial or free version of the software available that you can use and get started with today. There are a lot of additional videos and demos also available around the product, which you can get access to by going to Trilio.io. And there are some test drive live scenario use cases that we provide as well. And then, as mentioned already, you can download a free version of the product. Cool. That's it from our side. Sharon, over to you.
Awesome. That was really great, guys. Thank you. And Christian, I got to tell you, when you were about to click delete all applications, like that was really scary.
Yes. Yeah. It's a scary thing to do. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if he wants to do that. So yeah, super incredibly powerful. That was amazing. All right. So we do have time for a couple quick questions here. First, someone in our audience says yesterday they were attending a presentation on ransomware where the discussion was about paying the ransom. And his question is why resilient IT systems with backup shouldn't just make recovery from whatever the disaster is, whether it's hackers or a power outage or disk failure or whatever. So all that is to say, his question is there a difference for recovery depending on what has degraded or destroyed a system?
Interesting. So I'm just reading this question a bit more. Why resilient IT systems with backup shouldn't make recovery from any disaster to an IT, including hackers, if there's a difference for recovery depending on what has degraded, destroyed an IT system. So I would say that, overall, when we think about the topic of ransomware, right? In general, ransomware, when you are building a strategy around it or a solution around it, it's not just one set of, it's not just one feature or something. Your backups are there, but your backups also can today be compromised by ransomware. The attackers and everyone is getting very smart about it. They come into your system, they don't really encrypt everything right away. They take their time, capture, see everything, get access to more items that they can hold ransom, and then they end up doing that. So basically what I was trying to say is that it's an overall strategy around ransomware and how you approach it. It's not just one feature saying that, hey, I have immutable storage, so my backups will never be compromised. But there are other things around the detection of ransomware, the initial protection, making it so that you don't have to get to the point where you don't really need to go to a backup to recover, right? So now, is there a difference for recovery depending on what has degraded, destroyed an IT system? So I would say that it's all about getting your business back to a point in time, right? So, as it, you may have to capture everything, but depending on what has been compromised, you may have to just restore that. And that is what a solution like Trilio also allows you to do, right? Let's say the ransomware attack was found, or there was something wrong going on in just a specific namespace. You isolated the issue, and now only that needs to be recovered or restored. And you can do that with a solution like Trilio. As Christian was showing in the demo, skip if exists, we won't touch anything else, but only focus on what was new or what has been changed and what has been compromised. So hopefully that answers the question. I know it was a longer answer than probably what was expected, but I wanted to provide the full background around it.
Yeah, so just real quick, two things, because I'm from an ops background, right? One of the things, so two things. One, from like technical standpoint, always test your backups, right? So don't just rely on them being there. Actually test them, because there's stories about trying to restore from a backup and the backup is corrupted for whatever reason. So always be prepared in that aspect. And two, restoring is actually also more so a business decision than a technological decision. And what is your tolerance for potentially having, let's say, if you are a point of sale system, dropping orders, right? Like and from the business side, dealing with, okay, well, we can restore to this point, but this means we lost an hour's worth of orders. We took people's credit card information and charged them, but we have no record of what they bought. Like, that's a business decision, like where you restore, and what's that. That's also a conversation, not just for your IT organization, just from your just business as a whole. It's like, what's that tolerance also as well? So that'll also decide on where you decide to back up.
Yeah. All right. I think we've got time for one more quick one. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to grab this one. How do we handle performance tuning with Trilio and Argo CD?
Got it. So I'm assuming that the question is focused on how do you ensure the captures and everything, captures or restores. How do you tune the performance for larger workloads and larger backups that may be happening? So what we do is, at least on the Trilio side, you can set the memory CPU limits and the request sizes of the pod. So we have specific pods that go and do the metadata capture, the data capture, which come up on demand. So we allow you to set the performance aspects of it. We have also partnered with another organization called Stormforge to provide predictive RPO, RTO capabilities. So what this means is you can actually simulate your entire, backups and everything together to see if it can be actually met or not. And that tool itself will tell you, hey, this is the best amount of CPU and memory that you need to apply to those pods. So if we go to Trilio.io, there is a page that we've dedicated to that. Sorry, not Trilio.io, docs.trilio.io. That's where our documentation is. And there is a page dedicated to talking about performance tuning.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you both so much. Just as a reminder to the audience, this session has been recorded. So if you missed any or all of it, we'll be sending an email with instructions for how to access it on demand. You can also always visit us at devops.com/webinars or securityboulevard.com/webinars and find all of our webinars on demand. Let's see. I went ahead and drew our Amazon gift card winners. And so let's see. Today's winners are Bianca P, Ulysses G, Carlos M, and Geetha S. Congratulations to all our winners. You will be receiving an email with instructions for how to claim your gift card. So check your inbox. And if you do not see it there, make sure and check your spam folders. All right, well, that's it for us today. Thank you all so much for joining us. And thanks to Prashanto and Christian for this amazing presentation and demo. We hope to see you all again soon. I'm Sharon Florentine, signing off.
Take care, folks. Bye.
Thank you.